bumblebee. Hi guys, my name is Mackenzie. Dun, 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 dun. Come on guys, let's go to the farm and learn about bees. 3, 2, 1.
Let's talk about these bees for just a minute. Each one of those beehives contains about 40,000 bees.
What?
Now, each one of those hives produces between 40 and 100 pounds of honey a year, too. Now, of course, this is local honey. You know that local honey is very important in your diet because it helps to control allergies. So you should always be eating local honey in your diet. Now, I read an article this week that's very disturbing. Is about some grocery stores that are now carrying honey from China. But they found that some of this honey from China is tainted with rice syrup, and you can't even tell by looking at it. So my recommendation is always buy local honey. Okay, lots of information. I'm sure you have lots of questions that you'd like to ask me. Now is your chance. Ask me questions. Go ahead.
How can those beehives hold so many bees when they're so little?
Well, it's because they're so little. That's why they can all hold that many bees. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Is that real deer over there or fake?
That is a fake deer.
I told you it's fake.
It started out as a buck up at my mom's house, but somehow it lost its horns over the years, and we were going to throw it in the dumpster, and my son David says, let's put it up by the pond. It'll be cool, because when people come down the driveway, they'll say, look, there's a deer. So that's what we did, and it works very well. Works very well. Yeah.
I did it.
All right, let me ask you guys a question, a hard one.
Oh no.
So why do bees make honey? Oh, lots of people know. Okay, let's give you a chance to talk. Go ahead.
I forget.
Oh, you forget now. Did you remember? You didn't remember either. Go ahead.
Maybe they make honey because so bees have things to eat.
That's exactly right.
And they make it.
I was just gonna say they have to throw up. They gotta regurgitate somehow. I don't really.
And they make it for us, so that way when we're sick and that we don't have any medicine, that way if we have honey, we can just eat some if we're sick.
Okay. All right. A lot of information in that statement. That's true.
It's good for sore throats.
Good for sore throats when you put there's a mixture, isn't there? There's some remedy mixture there that involves honey.
This is a rural area.
Yes, it is.
It helps coughing
okay,
too.
First of all, the bees make honey because that's what they eat in the winter time.
I told you.
That's right. They eat that in the winter. But fortunately for us, they make more than they need, so we can have some too. So I think that somebody else alluded to something about throwing up. Bees throwing up. So
Wait, what?
that has to do with the next question that I have, and is why or how do bees make honey?
Ew.
So it's involved with that. You're a wealth of information too. Go ahead, tell us. Go ahead.
They make honey from flowers, and then they go back to and then they go back to their hives, and then they make the honey.
Okay, well, okay. Let me fill in. You're right, but let me fill in the details. Okay, let me fill in the details. Okay, she's leaving the nest, and I say she because all the bees in the hive are female, except for a handful of drones. She leaves the nest, and she's going to a flower, and she's getting nectar from the flower.
Yeah.
Nectar, that's what she's getting. And she's putting the nectar in her honey stomach. Now, inevitably, while she's on that flower, she's hairy, so she gets pollen on her. She goes to the next flower. And at the next flower, she's getting the nectar and putting that in her honey stomach, and she inevitably loses some of the pollen from the previous flower on this flower, and voila, you have pollination. Pollination is one of the most important things in our life, because without pollination, there would be no life on Earth without pollination. So her honey stomach is full of nectar. She's going back to the hive. She's greeted by one of the nurse bees, and she transfers the nectar from her honey stomach to the nurse bee, who puts it in her honey stomach. Now, inevitably in these honey stomachs, there's enzymes involved as well. The nurse bee goes to that part of the hive that they're filling that day, and she puts the nectar in that little piece of the comb, what they're filling that day. Now the problem is it's too much water in it. It's too wet. So she fans it with her wings to evaporate the water out of the nectar. When it gets down to the right moisture, then it's honey. Today, the lady that owns these hives and takes care of them all the time is in that blue tent.
Oh, look at the hive. You can see inside of it.
Ooh, that's cool.
Go ahead, put your hand up to it first.
What is it?
It's the hive.
Bees. They're bees.
Yeah.
Well, here, it's just through the glass.
Feel the glass? You feel it's a little bit warm?
Oh, yeah, it is. Why is it warm?
Because they're
The bees are
working.
making.
Wow.
Working.
Isn't that
Now, our queen bee has a green dot on her. Can you see her?
Wow,
This is so cool.
I see her.
Careful with the table, guys.
Yes,
Careful.
that's her. Good job.
Oh, you found the queen?
Yeah, the queen is right there.
Oh, cool.
But it's a little different with bees
Don't tap.
because even though she's the mother of all these bees, the kids take care of the mom instead of the other.
I wish
Oh, wow.
So the kids are protecting her?
The kids feed her, they clean her,
Oh,
they take care of her.
The bee wants
Okay,
to
never mind.
get
It sounds a
mad.
little too much.
I have coloring books that'll teach
Oh,
you
look.
about bees, okay?
That is
Do you
so
want to take
cool.
them?
My daughter,
No?
painted. She's a bumblebee for Christmas.
Oh, yeah?
For Christmas for Halloween.
Yeah.
So this is like a nice little, like this is what
That
you're
is so
gonna
cool.
need. This is
Bumblebees
why
are-
yeah,
bees
that's
are
amazing.
important, like, you know.
Oh, she's in there.
Careful with the table, guys. Don't rock it.
Bumblebees are pretty neat. They're actually even more gentle than honeybees are. But with the bumblebees, only the queen will survive the winter.
Really?
Yes. Her body will, the fluids in her body will turn almost like an antifreeze and she'll go deep underground and actually hibernate for the winter.
Wow.
And then when she comes out in the spring, when it gets warm enough, she'll have to lay eggs and start the nest all by
Start
herself.
all over again.
Yep.
Wow.
And actually, the yellow jackets that are flying around annoying everybody, they do the same thing. They have the same life cycle. Yeah. So only the queen will survive the winter.
The queen is in the middle,
They
right
were.
there.
And
Oh,
we
no,
actually
see, it's
found
right
them
here.
behind the
It's
wall.
right here,
That's exactly how
guys.
they were getting in with ours too. And then we patched it up and then
Wait, where did
Yep.
you go?
Never
Oh,
came
there
back.
it is.
Yep.
Look at that one.
They were
Oh,
they
it's
were
just-
around
they're
a
just
couple years
making
ago really
more
bad at her
of
house
the
at Halloween, and we thought these trick or treaters are coming in.
Oh,
The
I
hole
know
was
how
right
they-
by the porch
they
light
put
where they were coming in and out of the wall.
They put
Now they're
honey in
making
these
honey
holes.
right now, like actively. That's what
Yeah, but
they're doing.
they're pretty much getting to the end of that season as
Yeah.
well. I'm feeding them some sugar syrup here.
Oh, okay.
So that's all that is a little food for them since they're stuck in. But
Yeah.
right now we're at the end of the fall nectar flow. So they'll have to survive on the honey that they've made
Okay.
in the warm weather months.
The green, the green.
So they sell honey.
That's
they do
the
honey
queen.
locally
The
here.
queen.
So
This is-
how much is that honey? Or
I
what
see
kind of
she's
honey
moving.
for them to
She's
actually
moving,
eat to
yeah.
survive?
Oh,
There
she
are
was right
smaller
there
boxes
and
that
the
are no
bee
longer on top of the
covered her.
hives. We call them
To
honey
protect
supers,
her.
and that's from the word
Ew, what is
superfluous
this one
because
doing?
Careful, guys.
What is
honeybees
this
will
one
make,
doing?
make way more than they
It's
need. They will
making honey.
constantly
Oh.
bring nectar in even if they don't need it.
The queen is getting
The hives
covered
up
by
top
the
will
veil.
have between 70 and 100 pounds of honey, and that's enough to get a colony through the winter.
Wow.
But I actually go out in the wintertime and I feed all my bees anyway. So my bees eat icing in the wintertime.
Oh.
I go to a bakery supply house and I feed them fondant icing that you would put like on a wedding cake.
Yeah.
So they survive the whole.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they'll survive as a cluster. They'll go down to about a small cluster in early spring of about 12 to 13,000 bees.
Wow.
The queen is very shortly going to go on a break. She'll stop laying eggs in November and December, and then sometime in mid-January she'll start laying eggs again to have a workforce for the spring nectar flow.
Okay.
So
Hey, Kenzie, do you want to see the bees?
Yeah.
Do you want to see the bees? Look. Look at the bees. Can you find the
They
queen
died.
bee? It has the green dot on her. Can you find the queen?
Is the queen? Don't tap.
Don't tap on it. Do not tap on it,
And you
please.
can put your hand up here. You can feel the heat.
Did you find
that's
it,
actually
Kenzie?
pure comb.
You
I'm
didn't find the
looking at
green bee,
it.
the queen bee yet?
Yeah, you can eat the whole thing, or you can chew the
That's
wax like
green
gum and
dot.
spit it out later.
I've always always
Kenzie
wanted to.
found
Okay,
it.
how much is that?
Those are $11.
Okay,
What is it?
It's
It has a green.
honeycomb.
A honeycomb?
Yeah.
Or $5.
Oh.
This honey is not mine. This is from my friend in Saxonburg.
Yeah.
Because mine isn't ready yet. Mine's still in the freezer. This has to be frozen when it's taken off the hive and then cut and drained and
Yeah.
So I don't have mine ready yet. So
Okay.
these are the same. It's just done in a different apparatus. That's called a Ross round. This is called cut comb honey, but it's all the same.
So you just chew on it?
You just chew on it. It's 100% edible.
Is this the same thing?
That is creamed honey.
What is this?
All natural honey except for pure Tupelo from Georgia will crystallize.
Yeah.
And what we do is speed up the process and turn it into a spread. So it's a liquid honey that's whipped with crystallized honey. It turns it into a
Ooh,
spread.
nice.
If you'd leave that in a hot car, it would turn back liquid again. It's pure honey.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's a cultural thing. In North and South America, we expect a liquid product, but in Europe, they eat a crystallized product. Thank you so
Raspberry
much.
honey. Oh, my
Oh,
gosh.
raspberry honey.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now, do you want to try anything? I have testers of the different liquid honeys.
Oh, yeah. I'll try something.
Can I have a spoon, babe?
Can I try some?
I'll put
I
it
don't
on the
really wanna try
spoon for you,
anything.
sure. This is the raspberry flavored honey. This is just honey that has raspberry flavoring in it, but this is from, this is the only one that's not mine. This is from Fisher Bee Farm. The Fishers are the biggest commercial beekeepers in the state of Pennsylvania.
Try it.
You want to try it?
It's really thick.
I see.
The colder the weather, the thicker the honey.
Yeah.
So who wants
Go
this
ahead,
one?
you can take that one, Shay.
You want this one?
I don't want to.
It's on a spoon.
Got it?
Got it?
I got it. Thank you.
There's a giant me. There's a giant me on the mirror.
It tastes like
Can
medicine.
I have a back?
It
Do
really
you want
does.
to? You want to try the regular stuff? Here's the spring honey.
I kind of like the spring one a little bit better.
And then this is the fall honey.
Which one do you want? Are you gonna get, Marley?
I want to
No,
try some.
I want to try the raspberry.
I think it's sweet. It's like really
raspberry
sweet.
sweet.
Yeah.
you go.
I like the spring.
That's
or I
fall
like the
honey right there.
Yeah, I like the spring or the fall.
Is it good?
I like the spring the best.
Do you like the spring?
Is that one of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the spring one
Is
the
it
best.
good?
That's good.
You sure can.
She is stuck on that
I
raspberry.
do. I'm like, I've never had flavored, you know, like, I need to try this flavored honey.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Farm Trick. Bye. See you next time. Bye.